What's happening, Modoc Studios? Get ready to swallow this damn red pill because I'm about to take you down a rabbit hole. So, if you're not familiar with my channel, I'm a 90% Unreal Engine content deliverer. And here's the thing, the studio delivers assets and plugins and templates and products. That's what I sell, products. I've developed games in the past under the Wild Ox Studios banner. What you see here is what I've showcased as far as my YouTube present is concerned. This isn't directed at you guys. I don't want to fall down this rabbit hole of like accolades and explaining myself. But what I will say is time has a way of washing away all the BS. And it also has a way of allowing people with a lack of information and ignorance and making assumptions enough grace to hang themselves. It is what it is. I'll leave it at that. We're here today because I want to talk about a situation that's unfolding. I'm not really a presence on YouTube. That is not what I do. That is not what my studio is about. However, thousands of members that I support in my community that deal with Unreal Engine and Godot, and some even in Unity, they reach out to me and they're like, yo, you should do some content since you're so heavy on the UE side. You should do some content covering like this performance issue that have been plaguing games. Now, if you go back and watch my videos, I've done some podcasts with MR3D Dev. By the way, subscribe to this fella, awesome dude. But if you go back and look at my videos, you'll see my stance on this. Sometimes it's the dev's fault, sometimes it's the engine's fault. I am versed enough with this engine. I know when history is repeating itself. I know when there's been regression issues. I care about this industry and the standards that I feel like it should meet, both on the dev side and on the engine side. Now, a lot of these gaming industry tech talks have come from suggestions, so I've done them. I've approached them from an engineer standpoint, and I'm outlining, here's what I see. Doesn't mean you have to align with me, doesn't mean you have to agree with me. And on that standpoint, I got ahead right on the heels of Digital Foundry's drop about their video performance overview about Metal Gear Solid. Of course, Borderlands 4 came out, the embargo was released. By the way, that whole situation was fishy. I find this to be unfair consumer practices, the way that happened, the way it hit these media outlets, the very, very, very short window that people had to actually send out reviews before this thing hit digital storefronts. But that's another topic in and of itself. But anyway, I got in front of this as soon as it released, and lo and behold, it seems that professionals in the scene agree with me. By the way, go watch Alex's breakdown of this performance, and remember to hit this bell for those guys, especially if you're technically minded. This is an excellent overview of some of the issues that are still to this day, even post patching, plaguing that game. Now, some more red pill. There was a video that released before this video came out, and it was titled Borderlands devs had it right. Get over it. That was what it was titled. And due to respect, I'm not going to mention this person's name, and I'm not even going to give a lot of details on the matter, because I'm not a part of this whole fanboyism drama situation that's happening where people are attacking each other and clout chasing and all this other nonsense. I got way too many gray hairs. I'm too old. My kids are literally older than like the age I was when I started programming. Like, I'm solidified in my career. I'm solidified. I don't have to have a biased opinion. And if I was to align myself with anyone, it would be Boulder Gates 3 lead developer that got up in front of the whole world and said, you know what, there's this crazy idea. If you treat your core consumer base with respect and you listen to their feedback and you focus on delivering a good quality product, you're going to sell games. If you remember in your heart of hearts where you came from and what it was that made you fall in love with game dev to begin with, and you have that integrity and that respect for your customer base, you're going to sell games. It's a crazy concept, I know, right? But it really is that cut and dry, right? Here's another stat for you. And again, critically, listen to what I say fact check it yourself. The indie industry, year over year, has closed the gap on the AAA industry as far as revenue is concerned, and they're outpacing the AAA industry in regards to Metacritic scores. It's facts. You can go look this up. More red pill. The AAA industry is imploding on itself. Anytime you have CEOs from different organizational units within this industry pointing the finger at each other, not wanting to accept responsibility, or pointing the finger back at devs, eventually they're running out of excuses. But you have one CEO throwing devs under the bus and being like, they're waiting to the last minute. They're optimizing games wrong. At the end of the day, that's what I do. I'm an engineer. I will give you that much. I'm an engineer. I'm currently employed in a day job where my expertise is hitting problematic targets with this engine. That is what I do on a daily basis. I have a knack for it. That's how I contribute back to this community. I am offering something to the Unreal Engine community that I wish I had 20 years ago when I started my journey. So crazy how also along the way, when you start giving back, the universe has this really weird way of accelerating your learning path by handling other people's problems. But that's another thing for a different day. I'm really taken aback and appalled that we've fallen so far from grace that we're like literally taking technology that was marketed. And we know the Unreal Engine marketing thing. We know the NVIDIA marketing thing. But we're taking DLSS, which was marketing to get you over the hump, make your cards last a little longer, etc. And it's literally a requirement to run stable. And you're taking a game like Borderlands 4, and from an engineering standpoint, some people out there are going to tell you, oh, you're entitled. You need to be retrained on how to be a gamer, on how to enjoy games. You should be okay with 30 frames per second. You're dumb. You're wrong. You know, the amount of gaslighting and disrespect is crazy. And it's gone as far as like whenever I express that I don't align myself with that, I'm a traitor. I have turned my back on my fellow developer. I have, my brethren has been abandoned. That's the statements that's being made here. Again, I stand on merit. I'm not going to attack anyone's character, but that's what's happening. And it's weird because these YouTube personalities are literally going tit for tat for each other and clout chasing and all this other stuff. And I'm sorry, that's not me. That's out of place for me. That's out of my character. So yeah, I'm going to stick to the subject matter that matters here. If you go, I have a plethora of tools. I've been told I don't care about modern day technology. It's funny because my PR is what pushed for Lumen GI software, Lumen GI, to make it back into 5.6. This was me. This was my PR pushing for that to come back for DX11, right? I don't care about DLSS, but it was me ahead of Epic Showcase on this, by the way, running in VR with Lumen and Nanite. I aim for top-end targets. Like I went and showed AMD some love and did the same thing. I support ALS integration with Ready Player Me. I mean, I've done things with MetaHumans. I have worked on, my day job consists of digital twins that use the top-of-the-line features of UE5. But here's the thing. When Tim Sweeney himself comes on an interview with Lex and is like, hey, I know we have some issues, and we're going to try to have them hammered out by UE6, right? And then out of the other side of his mouth, oh, it's a dev issue. Nothing's wrong with the engine. And then the following week is like, oh, by the way, 5.6 just dropped, and there's a 30% performance optimization that is landed in the engine. If that's not a do what I say and not what I do situation, I don't know. But here's the thing. If you're in this space and you're in the midst of all of this, you understand that that's the natural evolution of things. By the time 5.20 comes out, it will be more battle tested, and it will be more performant, and it will be more optimized. But yeah, if we do some simple elementary school math, 30% optimization on 5.6 means that every previous version of Unreal Engine 5 was 30% less optimized than the latest, right? But the engine is perfect. And that's my thing, is that some people are so hardened in their stance that if anything touches Unreal Engine at all, They're going to defend it. Doesn't matter if it's shoddy dev practices. Doesn't matter if it's anti-consumer behavior. Doesn't matter if it's anything pertaining to it is just, man, almost indoctrination to the finest. It is gaslighting to the nth degree. And I'm sorry, I afford myself the liberties in my career and my stability to be able to not pull wool over anyone's eyes or take a biased approach. And if I see something, it's tough love. It's tough love. I'm going to hold devs accountable. I'm going to hold the engine accountable. And guess what? I can like and love people in this industry and not agree with them. My dear friend Ari, just seen him down in Florida. I love you, bud. He is fighting optimization issues with education. I have friends directly employed by Epic that I respect dearly. And some of them we align eye to eye. They may not be as vocal as I am. They may not be afforded that, but I know what they feel. I know how they stand. And then there's others that don't align. And guess what? There's no love lost there. That's called humility. And guess what? My current colleagues, my family, you can respect and love people and not agree with them. That's the world. It's maturity. It's professionalism. It is what it is. But I do not attack individuals. I attack issues. I address issues. The only reason why these videos are here in addition to the products that I support with the studio is because they're community requests for me to talk about these things, to do podcasts, to mention what it is with UE5, help them understand some of these issues. Also, it's to put pressure on the industry due to requests for them to say, it would be really nice to put some pressure where it's needed, and you feel like the right kind of guy that could do that. And I've tried to take a very humble approach. I've tried to address this in a way that I find is respectful. It's a shared responsibility. That's always been my stance. Sometimes it's going to be engine regression issues and bugs, and sometimes there's going to be what I call chasing the dragon. It's difficult to continually migrate projects as fast as this engine is moving, but you're reliant on fixes and cherry picks. Anybody who's been in this space knows that. If they're an engineer in this space, they know these things. On the other hand, I give developers some grace when they run into issues that I know is aligned with that. I know Nanite's not been the greatest thing to work with. I know that Lumen is heavy as hell. I know TSR doesn't run. I applaud developers like Riot who have literally ripped out the renderer and fallen back on mobile forward rendering to hit integrated Intel HD cards and run at reasonable frames. I applaud people that have ripped out chaos in lieu of going with havoc. I applaud people who have ripped out chaos and gone with physics because it's a cheaper solver. That's a hell of a job, and guess what? Bravo. People are addressing these issues, developers are addressing these issues, and they're successful at it. Not everyone, but the ones that put enough effort in, they are. And here's the thing. You guys need to start voting with your wallet. Whenever you see red flags going off, like these embargoes that aren't lifted until the last minute, when you see pre-reviews coming, when you see it crash on Conan O'Brien and national television, when you see people sending out the warning flags of man, performance is a deal. The game is kind of fun, but performance is bad. And then you have people like Digital Foundry, respectable entities in this industry. By the way, it's funny how I aligned with them before they even dropped their video. Yeah. So I think that the industry is at an impasse, and there's a lot of nervousness, and you can tell with the way that blame is being passed around. And I'm never going to align with that. I'm not going to pull wool over your eyes. I'm not going to make an excuse for a game that is hand-drawn, comic book stylized. By the way, Valorant is one that falls in that category. Comic book stylized, and the implementation is the equivalent of shooting an anthill with a rocket launcher. From an engineer standpoint, that is a huge amount of waste. Now, if they wanted to keep the ceiling as high as they did, then they could have leaned on other methods to make the floor cheaper, and they could have encapsulated a wider audience. It would have increased their dev time, for sure. Yeah. But here's the thing. If you're not doing the proper feasibility analysis, if you're not doing case studies and you're not paying attention to what the hardware is going to be, or you're not in tune enough to understand how that's going to end up, and that counts for the engine too. If you're being over optimistic at where you think things are going to be when you're planning out and integrating engine paths, and you end up landing in a place that shoots beyond, you're well beyond where the current target market is, that's your problem. It is what it is, man. Like, I'm going to ask you a simple question too. If you're dealing with individuals that are speaking for the industry, right? Their perspective is, let me give you a perspective from the industry. And every other word out of their mouth is gamers need to be re-educated. Gamers are entitled. Gamers are wrong. They're dumb. Gamers don't know this. Does that sound like a healthy relationship between you as a customer and that studio? Are you really going to trust doing business with that? How could you at the end of the day? I mean, it's a simple question. It's something that I ask you to think critically about. I will never get down with that. I will never align with that. And that is an issue that I will always address, as I believe that's the wrong stance to take. Anyway, if you want to talk nerdy stuff, if you're interested in development, Godot, Unreal Engine, Unity, there's a plethora of intelligent, awesome individuals in the Wild Ox Studios community. And doesn't matter if you're targeting VR, if you're targeting mobile, targeting desktop, we'd love to have you. Chilled, laid back people tackling tough problems on a daily basis. And they're more than willing to share information. So hit that like and subscribe button. Check the Discord link in the description. Remember to subscribe to Digital Foundry and check out IMR 3D Dev. And until next time, guys, happy developing. Toodles.